Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that you absolutely love. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy will be joining us after the commercial break as we talk about an issue that affects a lot of people. We're going to be talking about shoulder pain. Remember, health is the first wealth. So if you have shoulder pain and you're wondering what there is to do about it, then stick around. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions you would like us to answer on or off the air, you can email those directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. If you feel stuck in an area of your life, whether it's financially or in your health or fitness or in your relationships, get in action. Reach out to us. You don't need to suffer. There are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. Now, let's get to today's email. It says, "Dear Fletcher, my daughter is graduating high school this year and has decided to take a gap year. I told her I want her to go to college because I'm afraid if she takes a year off, she won't want to go back to school. I don't want her to lose momentum. And I don't know what she'll be doing beyond finding a job and working for a year. She has so many colleges to choose from, and we've saved money, and we've told her we would help her out. I don't understand why she's determined to deviate from what I thought the plan was, which we've had for the past several years. It's caused a lot of tension in our household, and she says that since she is 18, that it is her decision. I say that I am her mother, and that should still carry some weight. What do you think I should say to her? Signed, PR." All right, PR. First of all, thanks for reaching out. Reaching out is a sign of strength. So I want you to know that I understand what you got going on here. Your daughter wants to take a gap year, and you have a concern about that. And your concern is that she may not go back to college. You feel like there's been a plan established for her to go to college right after high school, and now she's changing up the plan. And there's several things going on here. First off, you're experiencing an upset. You had an expectation and it's not being met right now. You expected that your daughter was going to follow the plan that you guys all had agreed upon. And you likely have another expectation that's not being met. You've been in charge for the past 18 years. You've been calling the shots, or at least influencing them significantly. And now that's changing. And it feels uncomfortable. It even feels scary. I want to suggest that you really get in touch with what your concerns are. You said that you're worried that she won't want to go to college after taking a year off. And I'm not siding with either of you, but I do want to ask you the following. What would be terrible about her not going to college? Really, what do you think would happen? Do you think your daughter would become unmotivated in her life? Would she fall in with an uninspired crowd? Is she likely to not do anything with her life? Do you think she'd be a failure? Would she wind up depressed? Would it mean she's a loser? Would she wind up in jail? You see, it's easy to go to all the worst case scenarios in our mind. That's what our mind is practiced at. Our mind is extremely skilled at that, okay? But what is more challenging is to look at things from the opposite side and ask ourselves this question. What could be great about your daughter taking a gap year? Maybe she's scared. Maybe she's just tired of being in an educational atmosphere and wants to explore her options. Maybe she's scared of failure and wants to just take things slower. What could be great about this? Maybe in this year, she'll discover what she wants to study when she goes back. Maybe she'll realize that she is bored not being in school. It's true that you're her mother and she's an adult now, so maybe it's time that you support her new adult decisions. What would it look like to say to her, "Honey, I support your decision to take a gap year. Have a blast. Do some fun things," because as you know, and as you and I know very well, it may be decades before she ever gets to have a year off, to just work and not have a lot of expectations placed upon her life. It may feel odd or like a struggle to support this decision, but this is who she is. And she's brave enough to actually go against the norm. She's brave enough to say what she wants. And that's a pretty cool trait that you can be proud of. While her friends are going off to school, she's doing the unpopular thing. And just for a minute, let's say that your fear of her not going to college comes true. It probably won't, but let's pretend it does. It doesn't mean her life is over. You know who else didn't go to college or were college dropouts? Here's just a short list, and maybe you've heard a few of them. Prince Harry of the royal family, he took a gap year after high school before he went to college. Then there's actors Amy Adams and Jessica Alba, Whoopi Goldberg, Leonardo DiCaprio. These people never attended college. Here's a few people who started college but then dropped out. Maybe you've heard of some of these people. Rachel Ray, author, television host, extremely successful and achieved businesswoman. She dropped out of college after 2 years and has achieved big time in multiple businesses. Bill Gates, he left Harvard after 2 years to start a company. Probably heard of it. He never returned to school. Another college dropout was Steve Jobs. And I don't know what it is about the tech industry, but Mark Zuckerberg also dropped out of college after his second year. And then there's Michael Dell of Dell Computers. He dropped out of college in his first year. Now, I actually think college is extremely valuable. I'm an advocate for it. And I also think there is a huge value in allowing young adults to explore who they are and what they want to do. It may not be easy. It may be uncomfortable, but this is their life. And you've done a great job up to now, and now it's time to let them start making some decisions. Let them make those decisions while the stakes are low. They will ultimately be the person who they are going to be. So find a way to be self-expressed and also supportive. I wish you the best, and I want you to know that I believe in you. All right, it's time to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be back with Amy, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to Live It Up. We are here with Amy. Good day, Amy.
Hello.
All right, tell us what the topic is for today.
So we're going to talk about shoulder pain.
Ouch.
Yeah, you had it.
It hurts.
I know.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, so shoulder pain is a really common thing that I see in the clinic. I see it a lot, and it's actually, I looked this up, and it's the third most common cause of musculoskeletal pain after low back pain and knee pain, those being like number one and number two. And it's not really surprising because we use our shoulders a lot. I mean, they're part of just holding ourselves up. And then they also, we've used them a lot in our life. And the other thing that I think is interesting, most people don't think about this, but your arm is literally just hanging there. I mean, it's in your shoulder blade has a socket for it, for the top of your humerus, but it's basically just hanging there, and it's attached by muscles and tendons. And those muscles and tendons make up the rotator cuff that people talk about. Some people say cup, and it's not cup, it's cuff, rotator cuff.
Rotator cuff, C-U-F-F.
Yes, a rotator cuff. So that's the term that we use to describe those muscles and tendons that keep the ball or head of your humerus into your shoulder socket. And that helps you raise and rotate your arm. And so for people that have shoulder pain, about 85% of the time it's going to be involving those rotator cuff muscles or tendons. So it's kind of a precarious joint is what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought of it, it's just dangling there.
Your arm is literally just attached to your body by these muscles and tendons.
So the rotator cuff is, I never thought about this, but it's just a group of muscles and tendons and making sure everything's in place.
Right.
Okay.
And allowing you to have motion also.
Yeah, so what are some of the problems you see?
So the most common things that cause pain are going to be inflammation of the tendon or a bursa, a tear of the tendon, or arthritis. So I'll just go through those a little bit.
Sure.
So a bursa, which people maybe have heard of, they're these little small fluid-filled sacs that we have at pretty much all the joints in our body. And it provides some cushioning, and sometimes it's between a bone and a soft tissue. to allow there to be less friction. So the bursa in the shoulder that's underneath one of the bones can get inflamed and swollen, and that can affect. That's people who have had this will know. I hear it a lot with like combing hair, or for women like doing like your bra behind your back. Those are the things that really can bother you when you have bursitis. Tendinitis, so the tendons are what connects a muscle to a bone. So tendinitis is inflammation of the tendon. And it can either be an acute tendinitis, so that's going to be something that you maybe decided to play catch for an hour, or you do something where you inflame one of the tendons acutely, meaning like in the short term, or it can be a chronic tendinitis where you have damage of a tendon over years, or maybe even from like a high school injury or something like that. Maybe you used to play baseball, so that can be a chronic tendinitis. And then you can have a tendon tear. So people talk about rotator cuff tear, and that's going to be a tear, and usually in one of those tendons that we talk about. And these can, again, also be an acute thing, happen in the moment, although usually it's going to be in an older adult where you have maybe the tendon is kind of worn, and then you do something, and then there's a tear. It's almost like it's been frayed, and then something happens. And then the last most common cause of pain would be arthritis. So there's the most common type of arthritis is osteoarthritis, which is kind of just like wear and tear arthritis. And when you have arthritis in a joint, it creates these bony overgrowth, like bone spurring, and that can then lead to kind of catching or locking or inflammation caused by these bone spurs. So people will have swelling, pain, stiffness.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm going to make an assumption here, but I'm assuming that most of these injuries you see in middle-aged to older people.
Yeah, so again, because it is due to this wear and tear or prior injury, it definitely is something we see when people are older. And the other thing that happens is, as you get older, or just talking about my posture, so as people get older, they tend to have their head forward, holding their head a little bit forward, and that puts a lot of strain on those shoulder muscles. And so we see that a lot. And one of the things they do in physical therapy is work on those upper back muscle strength to try to get the posture back where it should be. And so given the fact that, and when they've done studies looking at MRIs of asymptomatic adults, meaning adults that have no symptoms, in the age group of like 60 and older, you're going to have about 20 to 30% of those people on MRI have a rotator cuff tear, and they don't even know it.
Oh.
And so it is something that doesn't always cause pain, but it definitely can cause pain.
Does that heal up by itself?
No, not necessarily, but you don't necessarily miss it if you're not an athlete. You might lose a little bit of motion, but if it doesn't hurt, you might just have less of a full range of motion, but you don't need it for your daily living.
Gotcha. All right, so let's say someone's got some pain that's persisting. What do they do? Yeah, so after trying some stuff at home, obviously, if it's safe for you to take anti-inflammatories or rest it for a bit, then my advice would be go see the doctor, and then we would examine you, and you just take a look at the shoulder to see if there's any swelling, redness, warmth, and then you are evaluated for if you can do all your range of motion, meaning like all the way overhead, in front, behind the back, and then if you have any weakness. Also, if you have tenderness, there's a biceps tendon right here that can be really tender for some people. And frozen shoulder, which we didn't talk about, that's also, you can find that on an exam where people, they literally just can't even move their shoulder anymore because they've lost range of motion. Okay. Let's see. Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
Hear from our sponsors.
Yeah.
We'll be back more with some ways to treat these shoulder injuries. Hey everyone, welcome back to Live It Up. We're here with Amy, and we are talking about shoulder pain and issues that are associated with that, what to do about it, and we're going to talk about prevention later, but we were just talking about frozen shoulder.
Yeah.
Now, I had an issue, and you thought maybe it was like a mild frozen shoulder episode, and it was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I had extremely limited motion, and I went to see massage therapist dude who works miracles, and he was able to like provide a lot of relief.
Yeah.
And then it got like all the way better.
Yeah. I mean, yours happened kind of suddenly, and so I'm not really sure. That may have just been muscle spasm or tightness, because usually frozen shoulder takes a little while to develop. People gradually notice loss of range of motion, and then it hurts, so then they don't move it. And then by the time they come see one of us, it's maybe been, months, even weeks to months. And then that's a pretty sketchy situation to try to get that range of motion back.
Yeah.
Because people, what they don't realize is pain is usually directly related to loss of range of motion. And so people will say, well, how does physical therapy help? Because physical therapy almost always helps shoulder pain. It helps, in my experience, maybe 80% of the time. And the reason it helps is because it provides you, not only you get strengthening, but also once you have your range of motion back, then your joint is happy. I mean, your joints want to be able to move in their full range of motion.
Yeah, and what I'm about to say, you probably already know this, but it just occurred to me while you were saying that pain is probably, that's like we need to pay attention. That's like the warning sign. Like you should, if you're experiencing pain, that's going to be like, oh, my body's trying to tell me something.
You mean you shouldn't just ignore pain?
Well, I usually do, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to like fall on the floor about it, but
right.
It is something to consider. Like, gosh, what's going on? Do I need to strengthen this area? Do I need to stretch this area?
Yeah.
What's going on? Are my mechanics off? Is my posture not working? Yeah, if your body's having pain, it means something is not working right.
Yeah.
When you're like 5 years old and your body's working amazing, they don't have pain.
Right.
And so, yeah, you should pay attention to pain.
Yeah, because usually I just think, oh, that'll go away.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, like, maybe it's something I'm doing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. It is funny. But anyway, so the story I wanted you to tell was what happens to severe frozen shoulder.
Oh, well, the thing you thought was freaky is this is very rare. Maybe you had like 2 patients need it, where they actually have to go to the operating room, be put under general anesthesia, and forcibly get their range of motion back. I mean, normally that is not what's needed to have happen. Usually the combination of physical therapy and an injection is sufficient, but...
Yeah, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the next question. So are x-rays helpful for looking at finding out what's going on with the shoulder?
Yeah, so as a family doctor, I don't routinely do x-rays if it's kind of a chronic issue in an older individual. If you saw an orthopedist, they would, of course, do an x-ray. But the reason that I don't is because usually either home exercises or physical therapy are going to be my first line of treatment, and then if that doesn't help, then I go ahead and do x-rays. X-rays are going to show the amount of arthritis or maybe some alignment issues. Then MRI, that's going to be done usually if someone's not improving with therapy, or if because even a rotator cuff tear, you would still send to physical therapy likely first. And if someone's pain is not improving, then you would do an MRI, usually in preparation to have some sort of intervention where you need to look more adept at the muscles and tendons. And then there's also something called an arthrogram, where they actually inject the shoulder with dye, and then they take pictures of it to see the extent of the rotator cuff tear or if that's present. So those, usually that's not done as much, but it is done. So usually X-ray and MRI are the things that people might have.
All right, and if they come to you, and what's going to be your advice for go home and do what? Yeah,
usually it depends on how long it's been going on, but I usually will tell people maybe ice, take some anti-inflammatories like Aleve, as long as that's safe for the medical conditions that they have. And then I have some handouts I give where you're starting to do some circles with your arm, work on range of motion. Again, stretching, where people can walk their hands up the wall to try to really get all their range of motion back slowly over time. And then some strengthening things for your rotator cuff with bands. So if someone's motivated to do that at home, great. Otherwise, I'll send them to physical therapy. Sometimes a steroid injection is needed. I usually try physical therapy first. Sometimes if someone's in a lot of pain, they kind of need the steroid injection to even participate in physical therapy. A steroid injection is either usually done at the side or at the back, but it goes in the shoulder joint itself.
Gotcha. So if someone does go see a specialist, what can they expect?
Yeah, so the orthopedic, usually it's going to be an orthopedist, and they would either suggest, if you've already done physical therapy and not better, then they may suggest an MRI. If you haven't had an injection, they may do an injection. There's one type of surgery that people may have heard about called arthroscopy, and that's where it's done with like a little camera. They put that into the joint and they can kind of see what's going on in there. And you can use the little tools that are on the scope to remove some scar tissue and sometimes repair some torn tissues. The other, usually to repair a larger rotator cuff tear, you may have to have an open procedure. Rotator cuff repairs can be pretty major, and the rehab from them is quite long. So, and again, unless someone's a professional athlete or they really need to have range of motion, if you're not having pain, but they've just lost some being able to kind of reach completely up high, then sometimes it's better just to not have that range of motion in order to avoid a big surgery.
Gotcha. All right. Well, with the time we have left, what can people do in their daily life to help prevent these injuries?
Yeah, so if you know that, especially like you said, which you've been ignoring all your pains, but if you know that your shoulder's a little bit touchy, really working on posture is huge. Making sure that you have strong upper back muscles, you might need to work on that. And then it also involves your core strength, because your shoulders prefer to be down and back. And so working on stretching your chest muscles out. If you're someone who's on the keyboard a lot, again, you're going to be doing this, and that ends up causing shoulder issues. So working on opening your chest, keeping your shoulders strong, doing stuff like yoga, getting regular massage so you are loose all around your shoulder. And if you are having pain, again, maybe getting with a chiropractor, getting massage, going to your doctor saying, hey, I'd like to do PT because I'm having some issues and I don't want this to get worse as I get older. So those are the things that you can do to help prevent any shoulder pain from becoming more of an issue.
Yeah, I think, we all are on our computers a lot or are on devices like this. So yeah, it's good reminder for that posture.
I was showing you that stretch the other night where if you put your arm up on like the side of a door and kind of lean forward, you can go in all these different levels and really stretch your chest muscles out, and that helps open up your chest muscles. And then also working on exercises like with bands where you do this kind of thing where you're strengthening those upper back muscles. You can even just sit there and kind of squeeze your shoulder blades together and try to work on those muscles to help support you. Also, again, you need to engage your core if you want to stand up straight like that. So cool. You can go online on YouTube or go to an exercise class, go with your yoga teacher and try to learn some of these techniques.
Excellent. All right. Well, we got to go. Okay. So thanks for the information. It's time now to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You have something to offer this world, and we believe in you.